Hello and welcome to Mysteries Beyond. I'm your host, Laura Lavender. Today we have special guest Yoshabel Shay. She was born and raised in Las Vegas and earned her bachelor's degree in fine arts with a minor in art history. She later earned a master's in education emphasis in school counseling and has been working as a high school counselor for about 6 years now. Aside from her day-to-day life, she is enamored with learning about her Indigenous roots. Her parents migrated from El Salvador in 1980s and are descendants from the Maya-Nahuatl people. Though history has been lost, Yoshabel's passion is to redefine what it means to be Maya-Nahuatl and share her knowledge to her 18-month-old son. She is wife to a Dine photographer and has a silly little dog named Milo. In addition to the aforementioned, she is the owner of Metzli Healing, which focuses on spiritual guidance through holistic practices and offers services such as tarot reading, natal chart readings, pláticas, talks, and much more. She would also like to establish that she is not a certified as a professional counselor, but can most certainly assist you on your journey. Welcome, Yoshabel. How are you?
I'm well. Thank you so much for having me today.
Thank you. It's my pleasure. So let's just jump right into it. What got you started in this path?
Sure. Well, before I start, I do want to do a land acknowledgement. I'd like to acknowledge that we reside in Las Vegas, which is being held on the traditional lands of the Southern Paiute people. So I'd like to pay respects to the elders, both past and present. And yeah, so how did I get here? Was that the question? I think that was
What started you in this path?
I think it's been my life. I just don't think I was aware of it, or I don't think it was facilitated at a young age. As far as being psychic and having premonitions and being able to speak to spirits, that's out of this world. That's not something we talk a lot about when we are dialoguing with people or conversing with people or being accepted. And so at a young age, I don't think it was something that was pushed through as much or supported. Not that it was wrong or right. It was just,
Did you always have a feeling though that you were kind of psychic?
I think so. I remember one specific time when I was about maybe 7. We had a visitor at my old house, and they would just play with the electronics a lot with me, and I didn't understand it, right? But I'd say maybe even in high school I already knew, because I would have I would have premonitions, a lot of premonitions, and I would be able to kind of like a channel. I would be able to channel certain things and just I wouldn't even know what I'm saying. It just comes out. So
blab them out.
Yeah, just like boop. And I think I started working with candle magic early on, maybe at 18. But I didn't talk about it. Again, we don't talk about this.
It's taboo, right?
Yeah, especially in our culture in Latin America, after the colonization, Christianity and Catholicism were so dominant that it erased a lot of what Indigenous practices were, which is working with the earth, and working with the elements. And, fire is something that I've always loved to work with. And like I said, I did candle magic early in high school, by 18, I was playing a lot with it. But again, how am I going to explain that to my family? Hey, I see things in fire.
Exactly. Oh, that's so cool. So you do see things within the fire. You are able to have visions?
I used to, not anymore. I was able to read the smoke fire, the smoke, cool. Depending on how much smoke would come out of the flame, how big is the flame, and I would interpret the candle wax at the end of everything. But I haven't worked with that in a while.
By any chance, this is just out of curiosity, do you have any fire signs in your 3 main signs?
Yes.
Okay. I was just wondering.
How did you know?
Because, well, I'm an Aries and I was really drawn to candle magic too. So I'm like, I wonder if that's part of me, that part of me is like, I don't know, it's like connected or something. It's just
Sure.
calls to you,
Sure.
So which is your fire sign?
Yeah, my moon sign, my sun sign's in Cancer. So the water, I sometimes I need it. I need a fire to, I don't know. I don't know what the fire does with the water, but actually the water would overpower the fire. But I am blessed. I don't know if it's a blessing, but my moon is in Leo and my rising is in Leo. So I'm not a traditional Cancer. I'm actually more Leo. So I have Leo tendencies, and so fire and to me is beautiful air. Like I've been working with air magic too, with incense. But fire has been an element I loved working with since I was a kid. So I'm sure that's questionable working at it with you're a kid, right? But but it's just, I don't know, it's just magic to me. And the irony in that is that my husband is all water in moon, sun, and rising, and he absolutely hates the fire. So I'm the one who has to, like, when we do ceremony, like there's a process so he's not intimidated or worried about it.
Fire can be very intense. So can water, but I feel like fire, it's more, I don't know, it's more intense.
Yeah.
So tell me about your practice. So what exactly is Indigenous practice? Like, what does that consist of?
Sure. So it's not really a label. I think it's more of like just a reawakening of what was. As I had mentioned, through when the Spaniards conquered El Salvador, and I'm going to speak specifically of my country because I don't want to disrespect other countries. There was determination to eliminate any pagan philosophy or any pagan practices. And believe it or not, curanderismo, which in translation would be healing, or la curandera, el curandero would be the healer, or female or male. And then within there's other branches of that. But pre-colonial, that's what was available, in the traditions of working with plants. There were no doctors in los pueblitos or in our, there weren't even pueblitos at that time. There were civilizations, in the Nahuatl, in Pipiles, and in our tribes in El Salvador. Like, we didn't have, Neosporin. We had, they had just like aloe vera, and here, put some aloe vera on that, that'll be fine. Or put some, chile te va a ayudar, like, so it's just a matter of really understanding the plants and combining it with the elements, from a very simple way of the simple approach of it. Yeah. Now, post-colonial, that's when things got erased, and that's where, according to certain people in their path, Christianity came through, and it became the dominant faith, to the point where curanderismo, or working with plants and earth, and working with the elements and the spirits, that ended up coming to look like witchcraft, which, coming from Europe, going into witchcraft up there, it was very, prominent up there as well. And so that's all they knew when they came down here, and they thought, hey, that's not Catholicism, you're a witch. And so there is a similarity throughout the world if we really look at the indigenous cultures, or the pre-colonialism practices, looking at European, we're looking at Nordic practices. There's Nordic witchcraft, there's Scottish. I'm not too familiar with that, so I don't want to talk out of my realm, okay. But there is a prehistoric witchery up there, that would help me foster a little bit going into where I needed to go. But then dismantling that philosophy and allowing what my country what used to do. And unfortunately, we don't have textbooks, we don't have scriptures. At this point, it's just having faith in my ancestors that they're guiding me to where I need to go to help people, and be that vessel, that tool to speak for them, or not speak for them, but speak to them in the in-between.
So that was going to be my next question, was how would you say your practice differs from like European magic? Because if I'm not mistaken, did you mention that you started with the more European tradition methods of magic?
Yeah. And so that's why I don't want to like say that neither one is right or wrong.
No.
It's the practice that fits you.
Right.
Yeah, and I think I talked to you early on how I was a hedge witch. I was in the closet, so I didn't really tell anybody.
Yeah.
I'm sure you are familiar with that.
Exactly. We all got to start with our little,
We have to start like baby steps, and then you open the door and everyone's scared of you. You're like, whatever.
Yep.
And then your mom's like, here's a cross, and you're like, I'll keep it. That's fine. I'll put it somewhere.
Yeah. Thank you for the representation of the 4 elements.
Yes, thank you. And exactly, like the cross, that's a clear representation. If we look at the medicine wheel, that, we compare, there's such a similarity in that. Thinking about north, south, east, and west, and starting from the east and going circle, and respecting the elements. And those are the basic, beautiful parts of our ancestors that haven't been celebrated. And so, unfortunately, when we do look at the cross, we think of more of the mainstream, which is, again, fine. Everyone goes through that route, but there is a missing part of identity, I think, especially for Latinos, who are kind of trying to break away or decolonize themselves from what was. However, like I had mentioned, I consider myself a hedge witch. I try to go into more like the Celtic witchcraft. Yeah, it was cool. It was really cool. I tried a coven, and it was a really cool experience. I think it really taught me of where I am as a healer and where I need to go. I also realized I was able to compare, their practices and our ancestral practices, and just appreciate it. So I'm very thankful of the European structure, and kind of have that as an intro. At the end, though, I did notice like I wanted to seek more of gods and goddesses that resembled me. I couldn't really connect to the gods and goddesses of of that line of witchcraft. And then, I started diving deeper. And I mean, I've always been obsessed with the Maya gods and goddesses since I was like 12. So like I've been researching. Yeah, I've been researching about the gods and goddesses.
So I feel like it's been there with you all this time.
Yeah.
Like they were just waiting for you to be ready.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been reflecting on that a lot. I'm like, wow, I've been like and I think that's what a lot of people maybe need to check in with themselves, and seeing their narrative and the signs that have been there this whole time. Yeah, because I've been working on a presentation on the moon, and I realized I've been obsessed with the moon since I was middle school. So like, again, it's just, and moon is the planet or the star that helps me as a Cancer. So
that's true. It is. Yeah, you do have that connection.
Yeah.
I can relate to that. I know that when I was little, I think when I was like in elementary school, I hung up, I got some construction paper, I cut it out into the shapes of stars, I put cotton in it, and then I stapled like the outline, and then I got some string and hung it on my ceiling with one little like crescent moon. So I think since then, it might have been within me, and it's just barely now waking. That's so cool. So how would you say that magic has helped you in your daily life, and both spiritually? So in general and spiritually.
I think so. If we divorce ourselves from the concept of religion, right? Like the structure, the outline, and the ruling of what that looks like, ultimately, I think what's so beautiful about these practices, or the ancestral practices or pagan practices, is that it connects you to source. It connects you to the creator. And you can still use religious practices. It's just that concept of having faith, and knowing that there is support beyond, right? Like Mysteries Beyond with Laura Lavender. Exactly the same concept. Like there's something mysterious, but beyond that is helping us in this physical plane, right? In this physical world. Um, and so I think how it's helped me. So believe it or not, I have to give kudos to my husband, because I honestly didn't come out as who I am until I met him. Oddly enough, he doesn't practice it. I mean, we practice ceremony together, and he's very, yeah, but he fostered it, and he had no idea what he was fostering. He's like, sure, whatever, I don't care. You want to do candles? Okay, we're putting water in a bowl and putting it under our bed. Sure. Like he didn't know, but he was just like, whatever. So I think I'm very grateful that he gave me that space to explore, and I really got into it when I was 25, and 25 is such a incredible year spiritually and physically, where on a physical level, now you had your, insurance rates change, and you can do other stuff that's more legal on the physical realm. So now you're becoming the adult. And then the spiritual realm, things are starting to click a little more. You're starting to let go of little things, because now you're getting closer to that maturity level. And so at 25, I really struggled with anxiety and depression, and I had to start taking antidepressants. And through that, I really dived into my practice even more, and forgiving myself that I couldn't use the plants that I wanted to, and allowing me to work through with my superpower of anxiety and depression. And connecting more with my spiritual self that way, and just kind of surrendering with what was. And so Magick really allowed me to grow as who I am today. I don't know if that makes sense.
That definitely makes sense. I can most certainly relate to that, because for me, it happened when I was going through my Saturn's return. So I had a lot going on my plate. I felt the same way. I kind of felt like a sense of hopelessness. I felt frustrated, very frustrated. It was just a really rough and dark time for me. And through spirituality, that kind of helped me out of it. And it was there for me. And I'm just forever grateful. So I can definitely relate to you for that.
Yeah.
So is your practice, would you say, is it a closed practice? And do you or do you not subscribe to that idea?
I do keep it closed. I try not to share my practice too much. One, because it's something that is very sacred. It's not something that, you don't sell prayer. That's what I've been told in my community. You can't sell prayer, because that's a disrespect to our ancestors. And so I don't really like to practice unless, there are, unless it's, I don't know how to explain it. I just don't like to practice out in the open.
Right.
For my ceremonies. When I do like platicas, or tarot reading, that's a little different, because I can now westernize it a little bit. I don't have to include what, I don't have to expose, or
it's a very personal thing. It's very intimate.
Yeah, I don't have to expose what the ancestral part. I don't have to be like, oh, look what I mean. Because that's not what I'm about. I'm more like, okay, let's find what you want. And, even when I do platicas or spiritual talks, I connect it back to their religion. So if they're Catholic, I speak about the saints of what I remember, because I haven't practiced Catholicism in like a billion years. So I still foster what they want. I don't want them to think that they need to be what I'm doing. So I try, and also, you know, when we look at Catholicism or Christianity or certain religions, you can kind of manipulate it where it does kind of fall into, you know, the pagan philosophy. So,
because ultimately they kind of did take from a lot from, you know, Christianity.
Yeah. I don't want to encourage people to feel, I want them to feel what they need to go through, because that's ultimately what a spiritual journey is.
Yeah.
And I always encourage my clients that sometimes, you know, the journey, this could be the beginning of the journey, and they could be at a later age of their time. And so when you return, you'll know exactly where you need to start again. And so just kind of guiding them that way. The only time that I really introduce ceremony with my clients, and I actually had to stop because I have to fine tune that skill set, is when I do limpias or smudging on people, because that is more of a sacred and intimate practice. And I've concluded that, like I said, I need to work on it a little bit.
Yeah.
Huh?
I said work out some details.
Yeah, I need to work out some details with that one. But that's the only time that I do bring in ceremony.
Well, that's pretty cool. I don't know if this might be like a personal question, but and you don't have to answer if you don't want to, but do you work with any deities at all? And what are your thoughts with working with deities?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, like I said, the Maya gods and goddesses are my homies, right? Like I've been working with them for a long time. So from our history in El Salvador, there is a mixture of deities in our country, where you will find deities that are Aztec influence. So you'll find deities from the Aztec practices. At the same time, in El Salvador, they also use the Maya practices. So there is a combination of deities that I do work with from that cultural influence, because our indigenous people, they migrated from where am I? They migrated from Mexico, and settled in El Salvador with a completely different name, but were influenced as Nahuatl. And so they settled very close to the Mayas, and the Mayas influenced them a lot as far as practices within their religious practice. So there's kind of an in-between. So as far as deities, I use primarily Mesoamerican deities.
Okay, cool. That's pretty cool. I didn't know that they had migrated from upper, I guess, or lower Mexico to El Salvador. I think I should have known that, but I don't remember that from elementary school or whenever I was taught that. It just didn't stick.
Yeah, it's very complicated to explain the actual story, so I'm going to just say that they migrated from Nahuatl people.
Sounds good. We'll keep it at that.
Yeah.
So what would you say, what does magic mean to you ultimately?
Love. Is that weird?
No, that's good. That's good. As long as it's as long as it doesn't come from fear, I think we're good.
No, I mean, and I think there is that stigma of magic being negative, and so forth. And, ultimately it's the healer's approach, and their what their goal is. Or, are they using it for a booster for themselves, or to get fame, or to, there's different types. And I think ultimately that's where karma will just kind of set its ways there with those
Do its
people.
thing. Yeah.
But yeah, but like being able to live in the middle world of spirit and physical, it's opened my eyes to really just love everyone. I know that sounds cheesy, but but I mean we're all in a process and a path and in a journey, and Magick looks so different for so many different people. Some pray with the rosary, some pray with a mandala, some pray with just fire
True,
like me
true.
when I meditate, or they just look up and gaze at the moon and that's their prayer. And so it's just about finding that love and faith in you, and continuing to have um, that confidence that your spirit is in the physical realm, trying to understand what it means to be in the vessel.
Oh, that's beautiful. I like it. Thank you. And now, what would you say for people who are wanting to get their feet wet with magic, but at the same time they have a conflict with religion?
Sure.
What advice would you have for them?
I would just, I would say to be patient with yourself, and allow yourself to have the emotions that may come from decolonizing that mentality of religion. If that's something that you're interested in, and really research. I think the best thing to do is talking to people. It was kind of weird. I was more comfortable talking to my dad about me becoming Buddhist, and I was Buddhist for 7 years, and yeah, not for 7 years. I think it was like 2 years. I don't know where the 7 years came from. Sorry. But just talking to someone and who is non-judgmental and allowing you to process what that is. And as you're going through this journey, so if we look at you growing in this idea of religion for a certain amount of years, so let's say maybe 18, I'll give myself as an example, just be prepared that as you're changing your mindset and ideology, that people will start refusing you, or maybe be against you because they don't understand and it's out of fear.
Right.
And so be prepared for that. Allow yourself to feel that, but ultimately you want to find a place of love for them, because they aren't aware of where your path is supposed to go.
That's true. No, I definitely agree with that. Maybe, if I may, I'm just going to add, maybe, yes, talk with someone that you trust, who you know is not going to be judgmental about it, and then kind of do your research. Do a lot of research, definitely. And you're right, speak with people just to get some ideas from everybody, and then do what feels right for you. Feel it, right?
Yeah, like I had mentioned, I've been on a religious roller coaster. I was like, I'm going to be Buddhist and I'm going to be this and and so
I took the Islamic side because for some
we
reason,
were
like
all trying to find it. Yeah.
yeah.
And I think that the biggest thing out of all of that, going into different religion, is be culturally mindful of what you're going into. Know that the religions that you are exploring might be from different countries. So um, understand that the origin of that and respecting that, and be mindful that you may be from a different country, and what does that look like? Because I think that's been a hard thing. That was a hard thing for me. I I don't do yoga as much, but I was doing yoga a lot for a long time, and so um, I love that philosophy. And I started embodying a culture that really wasn't mine, and so I needed to learn how to respect it. And that's ultimately gonna come, and there'll be ups and downs where you'll be like, "Oh, I'm totally that person," and then you're like, "Oh, wait, no, that's not right. I'm not respecting that culture."
Yeah.
But I think overall, it's just really being mindful that, and even with witchery, like, there's such a huge pool. You could be eclectic, a witch. You can be there's green witches. I mean, there's
Yes.
everything, right? I mean, so
Planetary
it just
witch, left hand path, etc. Yeah.
yeah, I don't even know anymore. Just so funny. So just being really respectful from that point of view, like, okay, where's this origin? Where is this from? And if you're working with the deities, respecting that as well, because that's the biggest thing. You don't want to disrespect any deities, but ultimately just respect the process and know that if this is going to be your life style, that it's a matter of respecting. It's like as if you're respecting your body. It's the same thing. You're respecting your energy. You're respecting your heart, and you will use it. You will carry it with pride, but not for exploitation. If that makes any sense.
Yes. Thank you. Well, do you have any last thoughts?
Whew. Um, Last thoughts. I'm trying to think.
Sorry, I put you on the
Drink
spot. I
some
didn't
water.
mean to.
Drink some water. And if you, okay, so yeah, here's one thing. So if you are going into this, trying to connect with spirit, I think the funnest part is to first really understand your astrological natal chart. Because because that will kind of connect certain things, and you'll be like, oh, okay, this is what I might need. So, for example, like if you're an earth sign and you've been feeling depleted, you might need more plants in your house. Or if you're, if
Yeah.
you're a water sign and you feel like you just feel like suffocated or dried out, maybe you need to go to the pool. So just understanding the elements that make you is a really great starter, because that, I think, astrology, again, like you said, Laura, it's as if it was part of my life forever. Astrology was another big thing that I started when I was young, and understanding your astrology sign, from the Greek astrology sign, is really interesting. And then if you're able to kind of fall into your cultural astrology, or if they have any astrology signs, that would be kind of interesting as well. So I think that's a really cool first step, right? What do you think?
That is true. That is true. Getting to know yourself a little bit before you start anything else would definitely clear the path of where you need to be going. Thank you so much, Yoshabel. I
Yeah.
really enjoyed having you here. I think we should definitely do this again.
Yes, I'd be happy to. Thank you so much for having me.
And one last thing, let me know, or let us know, let my audience know where they can reach you. What's your website, your social media info, and then I'll also put it in the description, but just so they can hear it from you.
Sure. So my website is metzlihealing.com. You can also find me on Instagram, Metzli Healing, LV, and then Facebook is just Metzli Healing.
Okay, sounds great. Well, in case you guys didn't catch that, or if that was too fast, I will definitely be adding that in the description box. So no fear, no fear. All right, well, thank you so much, Yoshabel.
Thank you. Have a beautiful day.
Thank you, you too. Bye.
Bye.